Man's got to do something for a living these days.
Dying ain't much of a living, boy. You know, this isn't necessary. You can just ride on.
Friday morning. Well, good morning, good people. Mark Holmes here, of course, with my buddy Cowboys Joe Boo. What's up, Joe Boo? And Bucky Beaver. I don't know how long Bucky's batteries last, but he's holding in there. Okay, shout out to Bucky Beaver. As always, I want to say thank you all for watching, commenting, subscribing, and being part of the Joe Boo Sports Report. Without you guys, as well as you ladies, you know that this literally does not work. Hope everybody's having a great day. Hope you've had a great week. I hope you're ready for week number 5 in the NFL season, which started last night. Now, a lot of people have been clowning the Dallas Cowboys. They're like, you guys had a tie. You couldn't get a win. How does that feel? Well, I tell you what. Ask the Rams how it feels for them to lose in overtime as opposed to going for the tie. I'm betting that they probably would feel better that they would have had a half a game win than no win. I'm just saying, because I just don't understand this one. I don't understand how you had Matthew Stafford, who was dropping dimes all over the place, 389 yards. 389 yards. Clearly, he's your guy. And you decided to let the guy lose the game for you twice, because they should have lost when dude fumbled the ball down on the 1 yard line. Should have. But then you went back to him. You went back to him in overtime on 4th and 1, when you actually could have just kicked the field goal, because at that time, Mac Jones, I'm telling you, it reminded me of being a kid on the tilt-a-whirl, okay? I got an inner ear imbalance, and that tilt-a-whirl, oh, my God. You get up on there, and it throws you against the wall. The floor drops out. Man, I'm tossing my brains out. Okay, that's literally how Mac Jones looked. It seemed like to me that you would have gone through here and said, you know what, we're going to kick the field goal, get the tie, and we'll roll the dice and see if Mac Jones is back up to playing. Because it didn't look like he was. So at least you were saying, we got a tie. There's 3 minutes left. Chances are he is just not himself. You get the ball back with a chance to win it again. But no. That's not what they did. It's not what they did. And they ended up losing it. So ask them how they feel about losing that game. Because now you played on a short week. You played an extra quarter of football. And you lost. All righty. We have some good news, and then we got a lot of bad news. The good news is Ceelan Carson and Jonathan Mingo have been activated. Okay? Their practice window. See, when you come off of IR, you got 21 days to actually get onto the roster. Okay? So you're activating guys that you're planning on using. So Jonathan Mingo and Ceelan Carson have both been activated, and we have 3 weeks of time to get them onto the active roster. So this is the first practices they've had since the beginning of training camp. The bad news is Tyler are all hurting. We know Tyler Booker is out with the high ankle sprain. Tyler Smith injured his knee. Some people are saying that he's just getting veteran rest on it and should play on Sunday. I don't know. If he doesn't, Tyler Keegan, who's had 1 game in his career with the Eagles, went to Michigan, finished up in 23. You talk about a makeshift offensive line. That's the Cowboys right now. The Cowboys offensive line. And then we got Tyler Guyton, who's still in concussion protocol. Now, it's possible that you get two of the Tylers back this week, in which case, Tyler Smith may be not quite himself, but I'd say 80% of Tyler Smith is going to be better than most guys out there because he is a force multiplier. Now, we got other news, and I got called out by Momo, who was saying that I am a clickbaiter. And I was like, dude, what are you talking about? Everything that I put in the title, I'm talking about that. Maybe you interpret it differently or something, but, when I say the Cowboys get good news that CeeDee Lamb is back on the practice field, that is good news. I didn't say he was going to play on Sunday, but the fact that a guy with a high ankle sprain who's doing rehab on the practice field, that is good news. And he is. And he's doing, he did more work yesterday. He did work on Wednesday. We'll see how much he does this week. I don't expect to see him on the field this weekend, but maybe the next weekend he will be. So that's the good news that we get there. Now, here's where you have to look at it and say the Cowboys are wasting another year of Dak Prescott. We got some winnable games, and that's going to give us some hope because, we should win a couple games. We should win 2 or 3 games at least this month, okay? And let's say we win 4 games. All of a sudden, everybody's going to be talking Super Bowl. And it's like you do realize this is the soft underbelly of our schedule before we go into the rough part. Now, we will get some more players back. We'll get Overshown sometime in the next month and a half, I think sooner than later, because I know he's chomping at the bit. You'll get Overshown. Hopefully Diggs will be in better shape. You got Ceelan Carson. And if the Cowboys decide to make any moves. Now, I have been one of those ones. I don't profess to be a football guru or, a genius or anything like that. But yesterday I talked about Calais Campbell, who every single year it seems like I'm saying, go get that guy. Go get that guy. And it's kind of crazy that at 38 years of age, he is rated as the 8th highest defensive tackle in football, who can play any of the positions on the line. And his contract, his hit for this year is only $6 million. So, we could have tried to make a move for that, but we don't do those kinds of things. We just don't. And so, he's, of course, going to finish up his career back in Arizona, probably where he should. And we still have a lot of problems on our defense. Matt Eberflus has kind of been a little bit thrown under the bus by Diggs, who's kind of saying, I'm not his own kind of guy. I'm doing the best I can to learn it, but just tell me that's my guy and I'll lock up on him. That's my guy and I'll lock up on him. And you could say he does look lost out there. He does not look like he has, any wherewithal, and it's like he's getting beat. He's in a zone, and he just doesn't know how to read it. Also, our linebacking core has not been good. And so here we go with possibly, do the Cowboys make some moves? Because I look at this and say, what the Cowboys offense has done with makeshift offensive lines week after week, that Dak Prescott has got it dialed in. You've got some offensive studs. You need a defense there. I mean, if we end up with 8, 9, 10 wins in the season and Dak Prescott ends up, getting the all-time passing record and, for yards and touchdowns and stuff, it's great for him, but it's a wasted year of his talents and his ability. And he's not a spring chicken that we can afford to wait. And that was the problem we had with Tony Romo. When we recognized that he is elite and he's good enough, we didn't do enough to try and get over the hump. And that's on Jerry and Stephen Jones. It's on those guys. So here's an idea. I'm going to revisit one of the guys that I used to talk about. And I started talking about him right after I was talking about Calais Campbell. And that is Demario Davis. And before you say, oh, that guy's old, you know what? I heard that about Bobby Wagner when he got released by the Seattle Seahawks. And right now, I believe Bobby Wagner is third in the NFL in tackles. Oh, shit! Oh, shit! Oh. So clearly, he's still getting it done at an advanced age, okay? And Bobby Wagner would be head and shoulders better than what we got in the middle going on right now. Let's just call it that. But Demario Davis, oh my God, I remember him sitting at my house in my studio and talking to him. And I learned so much about football and the mentality of the players and so on, that basically you are an independent contractor. You get a 1099. They always say, oh, he's not a team player. It's like, you're a team of one. And he's like, whoever gets my services, because this is when he was a free agent, they will get a guy who will do everything he can to take care of his body, his mind, and be on the field. And my God, even at his age right now, let's look at the stats here. An 87.1, rated as the sixth best linebacker in football. And you're saying, well, he's already on a team. Yeah, he's on a team that the head coach rather well. Kind of like Sean Payton, you knew rather well. He was your offensive coordinator. And Kellen Moore. And their season has gone down the toilet. And so if you're New Orleans right now, you're probably looking and saying, we need to build for the future. And it's going to take a few years to get that together. And so here's the deal. You might look at this and say, hey, Kellen, we want to make a trade for Demario. Let's make a trade for Demario. Get you some draft capital so it'll help you out next year. We got draft capital we can work with. And get a guy like Demario. Already this year, 25 solo tackles, 87.1 Pro Football Focus rating. But let's just take a look at what Demario has been over the years. And it was after 2018 when I had him in my house, and I was literally saying, get him. But we drafted Leighton Vander Esch. Take a look at that. In 2018, 16 games, 5 sacks, 110 tackles. 2019, 16 games, 4 sacks, 111 tackles. 2020, 16 games, 4 sacks, 119 tackles. 21, 16 games, 3 sacks, 105 tackles. 22, 17 games, 6.5 tackles, 109 tackles. 6.5 sacks. 24, 136 tackles, 2 sacks. And he's been a Pro Bowler. He's been All-Pro, first team, second team, the last 4 years. All-Pro the last 4 years, guys. That's the kind of guy who is a leader and a teacher who will become instantly the heart and soul of a defense. And that's the kind of moves that the Cowboys need to make. And at this point, take a look at what the Rams did to win a Super Bowl. They had to trade for Matthew Stafford to get him there, to get the quarterback. They ended up giving up a third-round pick for Von Miller. They ended up bringing in Odell Beckham Jr. to make that run. And Von Miller, I believe, was a third-round pick that they used as a rental. You need to be looking outside the building. Somebody like a Trey Hendrickson, somebody like a Demario Davis to add to this defense, because it wouldn't take much. It wouldn't take much to make this defense a lot better. It doesn't have to be, the 85 Bears defense. It's just got to be better than what it is. So that's my take on what the Cowboys need to do to try and fix this shit. So we're going to listen to Get Up, and they are questioning, are the Cowboys wasting Dak Prescott?
I've ever been. Yeah, I would say I am. And I think just going right off of the heels of the experience. I think that's why. Every year I feel like I've gotten better and making strides in every part of my game. I know sometimes the numbers and things don't always show that, but I think right now that they are.
He was incredible against a Green Bay defense we thought was going to be lights out this season. Are the Cowboys wasting a great season from Dak Prescott?
The Cowboys as a whole, no. The defensive side of the football, yes, they are. When you look at the stats on this defense and how they've been this season, total defense, 32nd. Pass defense, 32nd. You also look at third down defense, 32nd. Points allowed, 31st. Dak Prescott is playing like an MVP-type quarterback. They're running the football effectively. He's doing everything that he's supposed to do. I thought coming into the season, Dak had to be a superhero. Notice I said a hero, not with an S on the end of it. Well, Dak has to be Batman, Superman, Spider-Man, the Hulk, and the Wolverine. He has to do it all for the Dallas Cowboys right now. So if that defense can find a way, which I don't think it's just miraculously or mysteriously you're going to find a way to be better at defensive football, maybe they have a chance. I just don't see that happening.
Guess what, though? Heavy is the crown. He's the highest paid quarterback in the NFL. You have to be that. And that's how their team is built. They don't spend money on their defense. So everyone the Cowboys defense stinks and Eberflus stinks. They built their team. Their quarterback makes a ton of money. Their wide receiver makes a ton of money. And they've got a couple other players on defense who don't make a lot of money. And it's like, all right, go out there and shut down the best offenses in the league. This is how they're built. They're going to give up a ton of points. Jerry's not shocked. And I look at what they've got going on right now. They're 1-2-1, and they've got a pretty soft schedule coming up. This might be just fine for what they're looking to be. No one thought this defense was going to be good. It's horrendous.
Yeah.
I don't think we thought it would be this bad.
Yeah.
But when you trade away one of the best defensive players in football, you're not going to necessarily find that from a third-round pick or a fourth-round pick. They can't be surprised by what's happening.
Jerry Jones loves to get the last laugh. And I think last week was an indication, hey, we tied Michael Parsons after what they gave up, a generational talent. I think it is a way that they can improve this defense, and I think Jerry Jones can come out on top and still look like he's smelling like new money. I think if they make a trade for Trey Henderson and they bring that guy over, they're getting the same productivity and more that they got from Michael Parsons, 10 cents on the dollar, and then they can solidify those edges so that you can build a team and a defense that can win and support this offense. If you remember the new Indianapolis Colts and what they had with Freeney and Mathis on the outside, they got Jadeveon Clowney, who's a guy that can set the edge for the run. Could you imagine Trey Henderson on one side, Kenny Clark in the middle, funneling up to those linebackers on the outside? It can be just enough to kind of stop the bleeding enough to make the Cowboys a serious contender.
Is that something they could even do?
Well, let's go. First of all, those would be three 30-year-old guys on the back side.
17 sacks in a row is not, that just doesn't happen.
I just wouldn't compare him to Freeney and Mathis just yet. You're fair. Come on, you agree with that. That said, it could be done because he doesn't have a no-trade clause. He's basically on a one-year deal, and the Bengals season seems to be sinking. That said, there would have to be some gymnastics with the salary cap. But to Bart's point, Jerry Jones said, I'm not done yet. And a Trey Hendrickson deal is not the craziest thing I've heard.
Harry Douglas, I want you to take a look at this schedule. Do you think the Cowboys could be poised for a run here, given who they've got coming up in the month of October?
No, because this is not video game football, and you actually have to stop people on defense. This is the National Football League. This is not just, hey, let's go play offense and have fun, guys. You actually have to stop people. And I'm not saying the Cowboys need to be a top 10 defense, but you need to be able to get some stops. I just read the stats to y'all. They're at the bottom of every category defensively, except rushing. They're the middle of the pack in run defense. But if you can't stop a team from scoring, well, who gives a damn if you score 39 points? The other team is going to score 41 points. You can't go tick for tack. We just witnessed this last year with the Cincinnati Bengals, and they did not make the playoffs. So what make us think that the Dallas Cowboys, they can just sit up here and outscore everyone in 2025?
If you see a slight uptick in that defensive performance, suddenly you are putting up 40 points and you're giving up 20 points.
And you have
25 points.
The lowest bar, just a slight
you have to
be opportunistic.
Last week it was the fact that they're able to get turnovers too. So if you start getting turnovers, you can be a bad defense. And early on, everybody's statistics are going to be bad.
I think if you have a better chance of flying than the Dallas Cowboys defense being better than what we've seen so far.
Okay. Trey Henderson, solve all your problems, Jerry. You got that for me.
I do want to look at that October. I see that October schedule one more time because I can go through it.
Let me channel my inner greedy. Cindy, can you bring up 837?
Oh, wow.
Can I see 837?
I see at least 2 and 2.
That could be a win. Obviously, I would think the Jets, Panthers aren't exactly the 2000 Ravens on defense either. Commanders are banged up. And then at the Broncos, a tough ask. But suddenly, you look at that, 4 games. Say you win 3 of those 4. You're 4-2-1. Okay, let's go.
I'll give you something right here.
Not good enough for Harry.
I think they lose this game this weekend. This is an all-time flat spot.
Look at the Jets last year. They got demolished on national TV.
Super Bowl on Sunday night, national TV. Parsons was coming in. Everyone wanted to show out. You had defensive players going over 80 snaps in a game that featured 70 minutes with OT. Now you're going to turn around for a 1 p.m. start time on the East Coast. They never play 1 p.m. start time.
That's fair.
On the East Coast against a Jets team that's 0-3 in one-score games. That Jets team has been very unlucky. They could
Give me
easily
some
be
dap,
3-1.
Joe. Don't leave me hanging. Never thought we'd be on the same side of the spectrum, but here we are.
Hey, Bart, as two guys, Bart does the SNY post game for the Jets, and I cover the Jets.
You don't want to believe?
I don't see it happen.
It's a lot going on over there. Thank God for
Respect it.
Okay, there's a lot going on over there with the Jets. But I'm sitting here looking at this, man. We are giving up, 33 points a game and 420 yards. That is just it's not sustainable. And we are literally wasting another great season by Dak Prescott. The Cowboys, well, they're going to have to do something or just say, we don't really care about winning. I guess it is what it is. Alrighty, good people. Hope you all have a great day. And you know how we roll. I got work to do. I got to get out of here.
Can't stand it anymore. I've got to get out of here. I've got to get out of here. Calm down. Get a hold of yourself.
Stewardess, please let me handle this.
I've got to get
Calm down. Now get back to your seat. I'll take care of this. Calm down. Calm down. Get a hold of yourself.
Doctor, you're wanted on the phone. Everything's going to be all right. Please.
Sister, please, I'll handle this.
Yourself.